presence in a foreign land that is also their land, because most of those people are transnational writers. This means what? Some of them are from Senegal, some of them are from Congo, but they are also French or Americans to start. And then the return, as we hear, the return itself is a kind of loss, a kind of rapture, a kind of unhealed nature. There is a kind of unhealed nature, this incapacity for the exile to cope with the realities of exile. But is it completely true? That was my question. When we go down to Congo, when we go down from France to Algeria, is it completely true? Not completely. And that's the reason why I wrote my dissertation on that, and different articles that are already published, or a book that is coming, saying this. These are the reasons why people may think about the return from exile. And then I talk about the reasons with mainly Kadi Han, which is, let's say, who is a Senegalese writer that is not really well known, despite the many books he has already written. And then after Kadi Han, I talk about the return with, let's say, Malika Mokedem. And this is just the introduction to the whole thing I presented, is just the introduction to Malika's work. Because in reality, what she does is to obey the call from Taha Jaout, write and die. Because when you go to the end of the writing, you see that there is a kind of liberation, a confrontation with the establishment, the fundamentalists in Ainekla, and the liberation. And that liberation comes only from the return of Sultana. Because those people living in Ainekla, the ladies and some of the men, didn't know that there was that possibility of freeing Ainekla from fundamentalism. It's only from the return of Sultana that they realize that there's that possibility. And this is triggered by the language and the way of showing different things, the way of, let's say, putting aside, I would say, the traditions, the way Sultana puts aside the tradition and thinks about new things. And where does she get those new things? Only when she was in France. So exile there gave her this kind of empowerment that she brings back home to change the realities of those women living in Ainekla. So the end of the novel is a kind of relief for women in Ainekla. And then I moved to another writer, for instance, Alema Bankou, who wrote in 2018, Les Cigons sont immortels, in a book where Alema Bankou talks about, let's say, the realities of the Congo in the 70s. It's very important to talk about Alema Bankou going back to the 70s, because the 70s mark a very important period in Africa. The 70s, the period of the 70s in Africa, even the 60s, marks a kind of period of disenchantment, a kind of realization that, okay, post-colonial Africa is in a serious problem because of the dreams people nurtured before independence. And then when we got independence, we realized that the different government, the different head of state didn't match the expectations of the population. And then the 70s match a kind of release of different novels, release of different plays that go against Africa itself. And Alema Bankou is part of that. And also what is important in Mabakou's return is the fact that he cannot go back to Congo. He can. Mabankou talked about, let's say, the president in 2016 during the elections. He talked about, let's say, the impossibility of the president to become a president again after, let's say, being president for many times. So he had to step down. And then he wanted to go back to his country, and he was barred from entering. And how can Mabankou go back to his country and talk about the realities of the country? It is only through a kind of symbolic return from exile. So Mabankou returns, but still stays in UCLA here in California, but his writing focuses on his country and how his country can free itself from the bondage of those people. So that's also, in general, what I talk about. Yeah.
Very interesting. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
So do we have any final questions? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Well, in that case, I'll just thank all our speakers from this afternoon once again. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your work with us. It's really fantastic to see all these up and coming projects in French studies, and I look forward to hearing more as things continue to develop. And also thank you so much to everyone who came to listen. We really appreciate having an audience for all of our speakers. So the recording from today's presentations will be uploaded to the Women in French Australia website in a week or so. So you're all very welcome to share that video with whoever wasn't able to make it today. But yeah, just one final thank you, and I hope you all have an excellent evening or rest of your day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
So much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.